the art room as an elementary art teacher was the challenge for this action research. As I learned from our educational design course, challenge-based learning and project-based learning can be very motivating for a creative person with interpersonal learning style. So taking on this AR was both challenging and stimulating for me as a researcher. Narrowing down the topic required defining the problem and target audience. Was the introduction of technology into the art room going to benefit the teacher or the student or both? As an educator, my first priority was to improve the student environment. So I wondered about the idea of bringing computers into the art room. I decided that children already had scheduled computer time in the computer lab, and my desire was to keep the hands-on art production rather than shift to computer-generated art. Having investigated multiple learning styles in my graduate studies, it made it clear that the traditional tactile, kinesthetic, visual, and collaborative interpersonal learning that I've been using in the art room is valuable and should continue to reach young learners. So my thought shifted to having the teacher use the technology to deliver motivational art presentations and lessons. This way, students who have grown up around technology, otherwise known as digital natives, could relate and respond to the art content being delivered in a way that was comfortable to the students. There is such a wealth of information available for teachers to access and use now in the 21st century that it was important for me to hone my media literacy skills. I learned how to filter through valid and reliable resources not only for my AR, but also for the purpose of gathering information and content for my presentation in the classroom. Since teacher roles are shifting, and whether teachers are knowledge facilitators or guides or gatherers of information and presenters of information that's valid and reliable, digital immigrants like myself are beginning to find ways to incorporate technology. So, as a presentation tool, I still wasn't totally satisfied with the topic, and I tweaked the idea one final time. I targeted an element of instructional design that I wanted to emphasize in the art room, and that element was reflection time. Literature supported reflection time as an important aspect in learning, and through the use of video technology, I would include children to make reflective videos in the art room. This way, students would have an interactive role in the making of the videos, and the technology would clearly be evident from the student's perspective. As you can imagine, 5- and 6-year-olds were very curious about the camera from the start, and I went through many learning curves throughout the research and making of these reflective videos. An added finding from the literature, which positively affected my research, revealed that the use of reflective videos would also serve as a useful tool to benefit teacher practices, and that was very helpful and beneficial throughout the learning curve. The continued creation of media throughout my graduate studies has been pivotal in the development of this AR. From the first introduction of a photo booth image, as well as podcasts and original pages presentation and keynote presentations, getting familiar with various applications and the technology available in the 21st century has been central in the development of reflective videos.
As I mentioned, bringing technology into the art room was the challenge, and by using video, I had planned to enhance reflection. The essential idea was to have art conversations. Here, in my motivational and training course, I developed my interview skills. I set up the camera on a tripod to take mid-shots and some close-ups, and when necessary for transitions, I went ahead and added some media that was relevant to the conversation. It was a conversation with a fellow art teacher, and I used ScreenFlow, which allowed me to capture images scrolling through some of her contributions to the State Art Association, and then include those in the interview as a kind of movie within a movie. Through the fun and learning process of using ScreenFlow and the video camera, I developed skills that I would later use in the making of my AR reflective videos. Here is the window of my iMovie where I did put my first reflective video on the helping hand eagles. I inserted the media again of some sample artwork and then let the children talk. For a first-time video, I had some technical difficulties like the shuffling of the camera and background noises and the telephone ringing. And some of my peer feedback suggested that I use a second camera and also that I have a wide angle on the classroom so the whole class was visible. So I did go ahead and set up a second camera, one on the right, one on the left, and that gave me two angles for transition purposes. Also, the content of this reflective movie had an added element of music. I had studied the Dalcroze method in our music theory class and found the children really responded well to the music and enjoyed mixing the name of the artist with rhythms and sounds. When viewing the movie back, however, the students weren't quite as engaged because they'd already reflected and hearing themselves reflect again was repetitive. Engaging the students was paramount, so I had to rethink my research. I went back to the presentation idea and used technology such as Spore, where I created a little creature on the computer, and I went into Second Life, into a gallery, and I introduced a lesson on Edward Hicks and the Peaceable Kingdom. The students were really interested. They had a lot of fun and they were following this little creature around and learning about Edward Hicks. I'd have to say this presentation definitely improved the learning environment for students. So presentations became more of a focus for these media creations. Delivering content through presentation was interesting for students, and it did still meet the goal of reflection because students then reflected in class. For this particular keynote, I used over 11 pages just for the color, shape, line, texture, and space video. I also went into the inspector and found different ways to have the media move, so the children were very interested in the movement of the media. And of course, the music that I created in GarageBand with our music theory course went alongside and had to be timed. It was a tedious synchronization, and I didn't mind at all the all-nighter. It was so much fun to put together and so rewarding. And the children constantly asked me, "Can you sing this song, Mrs. Lamborn?" And they often called it Elephants in Art. It was clear the children were engaged when they saw moving objects on screen. So when I had the digital media class where we learned about Flash and turning it into a Swift file and then Dreamweaver to put it on a page, it was really helpful for me to see this process in action and really get behind the nitty-gritty of creating moving objects. And I even used the Flash program to stimulate and encourage my basketball team when they had lost and put up on the conference a little mascot, soaring. I'd have to say one of the most influential courses that I took that helped me with my AR was the digital storytelling or film course. And we learned just how to tell a story, something that was important to us, and put it on film and critique it. And it was just very, very valuable in being able to tell the story of my AR and try to get the children to talk and converse and have a rippling conversation. Even though my thoughts on technology and how to use it in the class did alter and change to more presentation, I did make a final video, a reflective video, and I was happier about this one because I gave the children individual time. They got a chance to talk about their art, the connections they made. They thought about new ideas. They talked about knowledge they had gained. Some of the students later told me they were uncomfortable in front of the camera because they didn't know what to say, and in future videos I may change that and give students an opportunity to prepare a sentence. All in all, I'd say the action research experience was very valuable. I learned how to accept practices that worked and didn't work, and it allowed me to adopt the ideas of Ben Zander and open up new possibilities to improve student learning and teacher practices, and these practices will stay with me throughout my educational career.